evidence indicating that President Trump did, in fact, intend to go to the Capitol on the afternoon of January 6th, and that he repeatedly expressed that intention during the afternoon and in the days prior. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Gentlewoman yields back. The chair recognizes the gentlewoman from Virginia, Mrs. Lurie.
This is live special coverage from NPR News of the January 6th committee hearing.
All of President Trump's efforts came to a head on the afternoon of January 6th. Standing on the stage of the ellipse, President Trump told tens of thousands of angry supporters that the election was stolen, that they had the power to change that if they marched to the Capitol, and that they wouldn't have a country anymore if the presidency was taken away from him. He told them he would be there with them. And then, as the crowd descended on the Capitol, President Trump watched it on television. Despite pleas from his senior advisors, from lawmakers on the Hill, and from his own children, President Trump would not issue a public statement, instructing his supporters to disperse and leave the Capitol. Mr. Trump's failures spanned the period from 1:10 p.m., when his speech ended, and he instructed his supporters to march to the Capitol, to 4:17 p.m.
This is NPR News, and you're listening to live special coverage of the final public hearing of the January 6th committee. I'm Ari Shapiro.
He actively disregarded his constitutional obligation to take care that the laws are faithfully executed. As we've established through months of investigation, that is because the mob wanted what President Trump wanted, to impede the peaceful transition of power. These are the Select Committee's findings about President Trump's dereliction of duty. From the outset of the violence, and for several hours that followed, people at the Capitol, people inside President Trump's administration, elected officials of both parties, members of President Trump's own family, and even Fox News commentators who were sympathetic to President Trump, all tried to contact the White House to urge him to do one singular thing. The one thing that all of these people immediately understood was required: instruct his supporters to leave the Capitol. The president repeatedly refused pleas as he watched the violence at the Capitol on television. During the day, the president never spoke with National Guard, the Department of Defense, the Department of Justice, or any law enforcement agency. At no point during the day, or any other, did he issue any order to deploy any law enforcement agency to assist. Multiple witnesses, including President Trump's White House counsel, testified to these facts. Your White House employees, who had been speaking directly with President Trump, state that he didn't want anything done. The president was making phone calls that afternoon, but they weren't to law enforcement officials. Rather, President Trump continued to call his
The December 19th, 2 p.m. City Council meeting is hereby called to order, and I'll ask our clerk, Ms. Susan McCoy, to please call the roll.
Mr. Bestpitch? Here.
Mr. Cobb?
Here.
Ms. Moon Reynolds?
Here.
Ms. Price? Ms. Sanchez Jones?
Here.
Vice Mayor White Boyd?
Here.
Mayor Lee?
Here, and a quorum is present, and Ms. Price is on her way. She was involved in some activities this morning at a press conference, so she will be here shortly. Our invocation will be delivered by the Reverend Alexander McPhail, pastor of Christ Episcopal Church. And following Pastor McPhail's invocation, I will lead you in the Pledge of Allegiance. Will you please stand? Oh, please.
Let us pray. O Lord, our governor, bless the leaders of our land that we may be a people at peace among ourselves and a blessing to the other nations of the earth. To the President and members of the Cabinet, to governors of states, mayors of cities, to city councils, as here in Roanoke, and to all in administrative authority, grant wisdom and grace in the exercise of their duties. To senators and representatives, and those who make our laws in states, cities, and towns, give courage, wisdom, and foresight to provide for the needs of all our people and to fulfill our obligations in the community of nations. To the judges and officers of our courts, give understanding and integrity, that human rights may be safeguarded and justice served. And finally, teach our people to rely on your strength and to accept their responsibilities to their fellow citizens, that they may elect trustworthy leaders and make wise decisions for the well-being of our society, that we may serve you faithfully in our generation and honor your holy name. For yours is the kingdom, O Lord, and you are exalted as head above all. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all, and thank you, Pastor. And welcome everybody to our last council meeting of the year and our last council meeting for our esteemed colleague, Mr. Bill Bestpitch. I know he's been counting down for this for a while.
You mean those last 13 days?
And Ms. White, who will be arriving later, and we'll be recognizing them even more at our 7 o'clock session. But thank all of you for your attendance today. All right, item number 2 on our agenda today is the presentations and acknowledgments, and we have none. And item number 3 is the hearing of citizens upon public matters. City Council sets this time aside as a priority for citizens to be heard. Not every council does that, but we set this time aside for our citizens to be heard. And all matters will be referred to the city manager for a response, a recommendation, or report to council as he may deem appropriate. And I'm going to ask my clerk if we have any citizens that are signed up.
Yes, we do.
All right, can you call them in the order of their signing up?
Okay, first we will have Caroline Garcia.
Welcome, Caroline.
Okay. Today I'm speaking about the recent reversal of the key components to the criminal justice reform bill. Today we saw Brian Crump come to the city and share the joy and love of Henrietta Lacks and her family. And notably, he represents the family of Breonna Taylor, an innocent woman who was murdered by police for using a no-knock warrant. She would still be alive today, but she died because of a failed policy that targets many innocent people and creates a false sense of safety and perpetrates fear in communities across America. This is also true with stopping people with broken headlights. It's a pattern that continues to harm. When I asked Ben Crump what I should say and what I should do, He looked at me and he said, "Show them a picture of Breonna Taylor so that they have to look at her." I know I will leave this meeting losing many relationships I built over the years, but y'all should be disappointed in yourselves. The mayor said today that this is a progressive city. However, a city where he wants to bring back stop and frisk, a city where influential city council members ban homeless people, a city that wants a fast and short solution to crime, but not a permanent one. I've worked with many of y'all. Many called and asked me to speak for them and endorse them. Many don't see the hard part of coming today. It was watching my father, a brown Latino man, be pulled over every time we drove. When he told me silence and injustice was better than death, that was the moment it opened my eyes. Listen to the people struggling. We want high-paying jobs. We want better affordable housing. We want city services funded, and we want to be respected. We want to live in a city where we have ways to live a life with dignity, and crime will plummet. It's a fact. So this holiday season, while you spend time with your families, innocent people are being targeted, imprisoned, and attacked for existing in their skin. And people struggle to find shelter. I hope you see it, and I hope you feel it. I hope these rollbacks impact you personally, and I hope you can live with the guilt knowing that you've created a problem that will last decades, a problem that will create traumas that will seep through everyone's lives and live on forever. Thank you.
Thank you. Cumberland County. All right, next speaker.
Mayor, we have other people that would like to speak, but they will speak under the items, on the particular items.
Okay, so there's no,
Oh,
does Barbara, you want, is Barbara, Derek, you signed up to speak?
on the public comments, not, okay. I have you both as Fishburne Park, but,
Well, that's what we're commenting on, the public hearing.
okay, well, then that's fine.
We haven't got to that.
Yeah, we hadn't gotten to that part yet, so that's why.
No, but we're in the
Okay.
category, I signed up online under public comments.
Madam Clerk, we simply don't have, public hearing had been closed, so there's no public hearing
Okay.
next to the item.
All right, then we do have additional speakers.
All right, so,
So Ms. Cathcart?
Thank you. I appreciate this time. First of all, I'd like to talk about this historic unveiling that happened today. Henrietta Lacks shows the appreciation for history, especially hidden history, and also the awesomeness of our vice mayor that did the private fundraising that made it happen. It just shows that there are people out there that want to support worthy causes and are willing to donate the money, their time, and effort to make things happen that make this city a better place. And for that, I'm very, very grateful. I just wanted to give you all, we'll kind of pick up where I left off before, and that is to inform you that there's a benefactor willing to finance at 0% interest the renovation of the cabin in Fishburne Park. It would take place without needing to rezone it. The big problem that happens with the people in the neighborhood as well as the community at large is the rezoning issue. It's zoned right now for green space recreational, which means that it can only have educational and recreational activities there. But that also includes concessions, so that could be a coffee shop. Because people said, like, well, if you renovate it, like, what do you want it to be there for? And Ronnie's and my vision for the house is hopefully creating a place where there'd be equity and inclusivity. The Fishburne Perk or coffee shop, they could lease the space there and set that up. There could be the community room space could support activities like points of diversity, community dialogues, the Peacemakers, Roanoke Refugee Partnership, local colors. There's a lot where a magnet could be created to draw people to come to the park that maybe had not experienced that part of the city before. and bring more diversity and inclusivity to our neighborhood. We're ready to go with this. We wouldn't need to have it rezoned. We wouldn't need to do fundraising. We wouldn't have to worry about a bank loan. And we would also want to make sure it's not a burden for the city. There could be a clause where if there was ever a problem with it becoming a burden for the city, that it would be available to have transparency and competitive bids with the understanding that the equity and the sweat and the improvements that were done on the property would benefit the people of Roanoke. I've listened to a lot of the things that you all hear all the time where people are coming saying, we need funding, we need these programs for our community. And to give away the equity in this land for $10, when we'll improve the house, make the land more valuable, and make it an amenity, and if it ever does become a burden, then it would be something that would be worth to sell to the benefit of the community, that would raise money for the community, that could be used for other programs. So I just wanted to make that aware, bring that to your attention, that there is an alternative that would work. Hopefully win-win for everybody, because 'tis the season for goodwill for all. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Our next speaker, Barbara Dirk.
I'm supposed to ask people who oppose, well, here, can you do it with yours? Ask people who oppose to stand up. Yeah, if you just want to stand up, you didn't want to speak. Okay. Can you do that, Barbara? Is this a procedural? I'm not. Okay.
Hello, Bob.
So we have 3 minutes?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, 3 minutes. Shalom.
Shalom. Shalom.
2020 is quickly ending, and I realized today that this will be the last time that I'll see Bill Best pitch and Anita Price on the dais. So thank you very much for your time and energy. I remember when you were first elected. I remember when Anita was first elected, and you've contributed a lot. You all were on City Council in October 2020, and some of you weren't, but some of you were. And that's when the Avenham Manor, and Ms. Trish White Boyd is chair of the Equity and Empowerment Committee, that this is my PowerPoint presentation, so really there is no equity with technology skills. This is South Roanoke. This is Neighbors in South Roanoke. We value our neighbors versus the place, so that's about this. This is Avenham Manor, and the front of the property looks pretty much like the example. This is now leasing in November. It was now leasing in September and October, but now this is November. So that's there. This is the back of the property. So you see what this looks like. This is what it's supposed to look like. And you see the driveway, and there's 2 cars that can park in each of the townhouses. This is what it looks like right now. This is the plan that the developer gave us, and he said, oh, we need to have affordable housing for the residents at Carillion, and City Council passed this. The neighborhoods did bring to the public hearings that we had concerns with the parking, and that developer said that, well, they would park in front of the building. So we said, sure, that they can drive down here and come around the building and park in the center. And the reason that we said that is that there was no there was no cul-de-sac, so there's no way for them to turn around. That I talked to the transportation engineer, Hong Lu, and he says that, well, the city gave them some land so the developer can build a cul-de-sac. Well, the land that the city gave them has 3 mature trees on it. So I asked the city to no, don't give city public land. The developer has land that he purchased, and he can provide the turnaround on his property. So that's what I'm asking. The neighbors had a choice to be part of public hearings after the process, after the approval. There's no way for neighbors to be involved. I asked for 2023 for neighborhood and neighbors' concerns to be addressed in updating a different process so more voice can be heard. Thank you, Mayor. Shalom, and thanks again to Bill and Anita for all your service.
Thank you. Barbara.
Next speaker is Velda LaFell.
Good afternoon, Mayor Lee. And appreciate you letting me come, and City Council. I appreciate you. I live at 2501 Sweetbriar Avenue, right across from the park. All you got to do is park your car and you walk across the street. But now it's, I've been there 60 years, and I've lost a son and my husband since I've been there, and I've been there 60 years now. And I'm just directly across the park. There is nowhere to park. When I come out of the garage with my car, I'm into the park. And I moved there when there was tar and gravel on the road in front of Sweetbriar. And so I watched my children grow up, and they played in the park. That was one reason I bought the house to start with, because the children would have a good place, and they had daycare there that they could go and spend time and learn different crafts. And this land was donated as a park many years ago by Blair Fishburne, and this land is to provide a good haven for families to grow together and to enjoy the outdoors together and to play together and to create memories. And now you would like to take it all away and step on the name of Blair Fishburne to make a quick buck and run this beautiful park. Not to mention demolish a historic building that deserves to be preserved property, a building that should be a site of learning, part of history of this wonderful park and city. And we wouldn't want to deny history just to make a quick profit. And I implore you to consider this matter deeply, because it's been my life. It's been my life. I've been here, as I told you, 60 years, and I've seen many things come and go, and I've really appreciated the park and what the city has done with the park. But I do implore you now, if you'll just consider leaving it as is for the enjoyment of people. We still have people walking down the street every day to go to the park, and I get to know some of them there, some of my neighbors that have moved in that I didn't know before, and I just appreciate you to consider that, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is William Sweet.
Good afternoon. I too want to address Fishburne Park again. I was here before. This simply is just not any development proposal for the city to consider. It's parkland being considered commercial use. There's too many questions for the future of this whole park, this specific piece of land. Like, if we go generation after generation, the lady lived here 60 years. Somebody be here 60 years from now talking to the commission. What's going to happen to this land when the current people that are applying for the use in the land dissolve the business or whatever? There's just too many questions that I see that aren't answered and addressing that. Secondly, I'm a landscape architect by profession. A master plan should be developed for all the parks. All the city parks should have a master plan. And that master plan should guide decisions, not maybe specific decisions, but decisions of future development of the park. I drove by there the other day and looked up there at the old house. I have no issues with the old house. But what a great location for a picnic shelter. It's right next to the toilet building that you all built there a few years ago. So putting a commercial use on that whole tract of land would eliminate that opportunity for the city to have a picnic shelter there. And I'll close by my famous speech. Selling park land is regressive public policy. Thank you all for hearing me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Owen McGuire.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, thank you for listening to me today. Would all those here opposed to the Fishburne Park proposal please stand now? Thank you. Does anybody here want to see a McDonald's, a Chipotle's, or maybe a neighborhood bar put on Brambleton Avenue next to Fishburne Park? I didn't think so. But that's exactly what will happen in the near future if this deal, as currently written, goes through. If the developers only want to open a coffee shop, why do they need an acre of prime parkland to do it? Because if the coffee shop does not work out, they will be able to sell off their newly created commercial property for use as any kind of restaurant or bar or other various retail options while making an incredible profit that will be paid for by the citizens of Roanoke. This deal is not really about restoring an old cottage. It's about securing an acre of prime real estate for $10 as a future investment for themselves. This land would be converted into commercial spaces not within 1/3 of a mile of any other retail locations. This strip of land on Brambleton is strictly residential and has been for over 100 years. Why does that have to change? We have tried, when I say we, our neighborhood organization has tried to work with the city on numerous occasions in the past on the property. But we get the same answer every time. Buy the property and we will rezone it. That's the only option you have. This would necessitate rezoning, which our neighborhood and the community at large is adamantly against, and it's evidenced by over 600 people who signed a petition at Fishburne Park. And that's why we're opposing it, because of the rezoning. The current proposal would create traffic and congestion problems, along with that would jeopardize public safety. Neighbors here are, I think, legitimately concerned about losing property value if this was to proceed forward. There are people and organizations willing to come together to renovate and maintain the house without rezoning the land. Please reject the current proposal and work with these people so we can fix up this house without needing to rezone the land. Finally, our city parks are not a liability or excess inventory. They are treasured assets. Please help us preserve them. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that was the last speaker
All right.
under this item.
Okay. Thank you. All right. We'll now move down to item 4. Thank all of you speakers that came to share with us your thoughts on that. We appreciate that. Item number 4 is the consent agenda. All matters listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the members of City Council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of the items. If discussion is desired, the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. And I call your attention to 2 requests for closed meetings from the city manager, requesting a closed meeting to discuss a prospective business or industry or the expansion of an existing business or industry in the southeastern area of the city of Roanoke, where discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body pursuant to sections 2.2-3711, Code of Virginia, 1950, as amended. And another request from a city attorney requesting that council convene a closed meeting pursuant to section 2.2-3711.A.7, Code of Virginia, to consult with legal counsel regarding actual and probable litigation for such consultation or briefing in open meeting would adversely affect the negotiating or litigating posture of the public body. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Bestfitch? Aye. Mr. Cobb? Aye. Ms. Moon Reynolds?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones? Vice Mayor White Boyd?
Aye.
Mayor Lee?
Aye, thank you, and the consent agenda is approved. We will go now down to our regular agenda, and item number 5 is public hearings. We have none. Item number 6 is petitions and communications. 6.1 is a communication from Vice Mayor White Boyd, Chair of the City Council Personnel Committee, recommending approval of the city manager's employment agreement between Robert S. Cowell, Jr. and the city of Roanoke, Virginia. There is a resolution.
Second.
All right, there's a second. Madam Clerk, please read the title paragraph.
A resolution approving the city manager's employment agreement between Robert S. Cowell, Jr. and the city of Roanoke, Virginia.
All right, is there any discussion on this issue from members of council? All right, seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Bestfitch? Aye. Mr. Cobb? Aye. Ms. Moon Reynolds?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones?
Aye.
Vice Mayor White Boyd?
Aye.
And Mayor Lee?
Aye, and the resolution passes. All right, thank you. All right. Item number 7 is reports of city officers and comments of the city manager. Item number 1 is city manager. Are there any comments or anything in the briefings? Bob?
No briefings at this time.
All right. All right, we're going to go now to items that are recommended for action. Approval of a letter agreement for parking spaces with Roanoke Higher Education Center and Park Roanoke Gainesboro lot. There's a resolution.
Move the resolution. Second.
All right, Madam Clerk, please read the title paragraph.
A resolution approving the terms of a letter agreement between the City of Roanoke, Virginia and Roanoke Higher Education Center for access to parking spaces for the students attending the Roanoke Higher Education Center at the Gainesboro lot, authorizing the city manager or his designee to execute the letter agreement referred to above, and authorizing the city manager to execute such other documents and to take such further actions as may be necessary to implement, administer, enforce such letter agreement.
Thank you. Is there any discussion among members of council? Ms. Cowell?
If I may, just to provide a little bit of insight as to what's going on here. So a few months back, representatives from the Higher Education Center approached the city about actually expanding one of the existing parking lots in that area to accommodate some additional parking needs. And actually, it was suggested by Brian Mann, who oversees our Park Roanoke operations, that rather than do that, we had excess capacity in the Gainsborough garage that we could simply contract with them to do. So in our case, we get to generate some additional activity in the garage, and in their case, they get to save a significant amount of cost that would have been required in order to expand that. So I want to thank Brian for working on this and getting this taken care of. So it's a good solution, I think, to allow some additional parking for folks that are participating at the Roanoke Higher Education Center. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Madam Clerk. All right, Ms. Price.
Quick question, Mr.
Sure.
Kyle. Those additional spaces, do you know how many or if any of them are considered to be handicap accessible?
I don't think these are actually designated spaces, are they, in the garage? There's just, what we're doing is providing up to 40 spaces inside the garage, and there are obviously accessible spaces in the garage, but there's not any particular space designated.
Okay.
So for any, for accessible or otherwise, so there's just, in effect, they're buying access to 40 spaces in the garage.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Madam Clerk, we ready to call the roll?
Yes, sir. Mr. Bestfitch?
Aye.
Mr. Cobb?
Aye.
Ms. Moon Reynolds?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones? Vice Mayor White Boyd?
Aye.
And Mayor Lee.
Aye, and the resolution passes. Thank you all. Item number B is the acceptance of neighborhood centers plan prepared for the Department of Economic Development. There's a resolution.
Move the resolution.
All right, Madam Clerk, please read the title paragraph.
A resolution approving the neighborhood centers plan. And Mayor, we do have one speaker under this item.
All right, well, let's recognize that speaker.
Tom Carr.
All right.
Good afternoon. My name's Tom Carr. I live at 428 Keppelwood Road Southeast, and I'm a board member of Pedal Safe Roanoke. Pedal Safe is an organization that aims for safer Roanoke streets for all users and for the use of bicycles as transportation to lure economic development and for health. I'm here to thank you for the Emerging Neighborhood Centers report, to urge you to adopt it, and to ask you to make safe and convenient bicycle access to the neighborhood centers a part of your revitalization strategy. There are a lot of reasons to do that. I just want to leave you with 5. First, a high degree of bike access is really well correlated with positive economic impacts on neighborhood businesses, particularly the types of food, service, and retail businesses that you're considering in these neighborhood centers. Think about this. The average person walks about 3 miles an hour. Riding a bike casually, they can go 10 miles an hour, which means the distance they can cover is about 3 times as great. That will greatly expand the customer base of a neighborhood center. Second, up to 1/3 of the people around the neighborhood centers are transportation disadvantaged, meaning that they don't drive in cars to get where they want to go. They walk, they ride bikes, they take public transportation. So providing good bike access will improve access for the neighbors of the neighborhood centers to those areas. Third, cycling improvements such as highly visible crosswalks, painted bike lanes, and shared road arrows and wayfinding signs are inexpensive and quick to do and provide safety and a sense of place for the centers. Fourth, safe and convenient bike access reduces the need for parking, which saves costs for the businesses in the area and helps to maintain neighborhood character. Finally, every center that's successful in Roanoke and the emerging ones are all close to greenways. Lick Run, Roanoke River, Tinker Creek, and also close to bike lanes. Think of 10th Street, think of Memorial Avenue. Linking the neighborhood centers with bike access to those facilities will help draw in cyclists from those facilities to the neighborhood centers and help improve their chances of success. Pedal Safe wants to work with you on pursuing the revitalization of these neighborhoods. We offer to do that any way we possibly can. I'll leave a copy of 2 really good studies of the impact of bikes on neighborhood revitalization and community well-being, and some really good guidance on what types of facilities work in particular circumstances. And I thank you for your time and urge you to adopt that plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Is there any further discussion from council members?
Mr. Mayor, if I may, too, just again, so folks kind of know, obviously, we had a presentation on this plan at your last meeting, and it has been posted and out at the libraries as well. And we've made some minor adjustments. All those adjustments dealt with either grammar changes or a page was misnumbered or those kinds of things. There have been no substantive changes. And then the last thing I'll say is I would add number 6 to Mr. Carr's list of examples, which is if you actually look at the 3 centers that we recognized in the plan as sort of the most vibrant centers, those being South Roanoke, Grandin, and Wasena, all 3 of those have exactly the amenities that Mr. Carr talks about, having access to our bicycle network as well as accommodation of bicycles as well as pedestrians. So certainly that will be central to the success of all of these centers going forward as well. So thank you.
All right, thank you. And I do want to recognize Mr. Mark Nelson, who took us through this at our last meeting. He did a very comprehensive job. All right, colleagues, any discussion, questions, comments? Madam Clerk, I believe we're ready to call the roll.
Mr. Bestfitch?
Aye.
Mr. Cobb?
Aye.
Ms. Moon Reynolds?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones?
Aye.
Vice Mayor White Boyd?
Aye.
Mayor Lee?
Aye. And the resolution passes. Thank you all. Item number C is the acceptance of Department of Conservation and Recreation Community Flood Preparedness Fund Grant for Resiliency Planning. There are 2 measures. First is a resolution.
Move the resolution. Second.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, please call the roll. I'm sorry, please read the title paragraph.
Okay. A resolution authorizing acceptance of the Virginia Department of Conservation and Recreation for the Community Flood Preparedness Fund Grant to create a flood resilience plan, by the City of Roanoke Stormwater Division and authorizing execution of any required documentation on behalf of the city.
Thank you. Any discussion from council? Ms. Cobb?
Mr. Mayor, Bob, can you elaborate a little bit on what all this will include?
Sure. The majority of this will actually be technical in the sense of evaluating, in particular, if there are changes in our current stormwater system and also really floodplain and impacts of floodplain associated with climate change. So a lot of it has to do with trying to see if there are areas that need to be updated in terms of our risk in the area of, again, floodplain management. Some of it will also include identifying properties that may therefore be vulnerable, infrastructure that may therefore be vulnerable, and there certainly will be an element of community engagement through this process as well. But the majority of it will be technical in nature, not quite to the level of modeling like we recently did in the flood study in and around the innovation corridor, but something a bit less, but still more modeling type of technical assessments of those areas.
Thank you.
All right. Any other discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Bestfitch?
Aye.
Mr. Cobb?
Aye.
Ms. Moon Reynolds?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones?
Aye.
Vice Mayor White Boyd?
Aye.
And Mayor Lee?
Aye. And the resolution passes. Thank you. Item D is a resolution in support of the Transportation Planning Organization's Smart Scale application to the Commonwealth Transportation Board for funding improvements for Interstate 81 southbound.
Mr. Mayor, I think there was a budget ordinance with the item prior
I'm
as
sorry.
well.
All right, budget ordinance on. Okay.
Second.
Thank you.
All right, Madam Clerk, please read the title paragraph.
An ordinance appropriating funding from the Commonwealth of Virginia Department of Conservation and Recreation, amending and reordaining certain sections of the 2022-2023 Stormwater Fund appropriations, and dispensing with the second reading by title of this ordinance.
All right, is there any discussion from members of council?
Mayor, may I ask a question?
Ms. Moon Reynolds?
Thank you. I'm a little confused because I see this budget ordinance goes with the Department of Conservation and Recreation. Am I on something else? Or am I on the, or maybe I'm just confused? Did we just adopt the strategic plan?
Yeah, this is that next item. So we did the adoption of the strategic plan, then this budget ordinance is with the flood resiliency study.
That's what I'm saying,
Yep.
so here, so, okay. But you're putting it with the strategic plan?
No,
Okay,
no.
that's what I mean, I'm just trying to get, I'm looking at my paper here.
Yep,
Okay,
no,
no problem.
so yes, that item's closed, the strategic plan for the neighborhood plan.
Right, but when you brought up the budget ordinance, that's what confused me because
Right,
the
the budget ordinance-
resolution hasn't been adopted for that
Yeah,
yet.
the budget ordinance is actually attached to the resiliency plan, and that's for the grant application that we've actually pursued for that.
That's the one we just approved, this one.
Okay.
Are you still,
Okay.
you clear?
I'm good. If you all are good, I'm good. I'm good.
All right, budget ordinance, did we have a motion on that?
You did.
Yes, we do.
All right, Madam Clerk, paragraph, read the title.
An ordinance appropriating funding from the Commonwealth of Virginia Department of Conservation and Recreation, amending and reordaining certain sections of the 2022-2023 Stormwater Fund appropriations, and dispensing with the second reading by title of this ordinance.
All right, any discussion by members of council? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Bestfitch? Aye. Mr. Cobb?
Aye.
Ms. Moon Reynolds?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones? Vice Mayor White Boyd?
Aye.
And Mayor Lee.
Aye, and the budget ordinance passes. Thank you. All right, item D is a resolution in support of the Transportation Planning Organization's small-scale application to the Commonwealth Transportation Board for funding improvements for Interstate 81 southbound widening between exit 137 and exit 128 Catawba Magisterial District. There's a resolution.
Move the resolution.
Second.
All right, Madam Clerk, please read the title paragraph.
A resolution requesting the Commonwealth Transportation Board fund a smart scale application for Interstate 81 southbound widening between exit 137 and exit 128 in the Catawba Magisterial District.
All right, is there any discussion by council?
Mr. Mayor, if I may, this item is our, really the community's continued support of improvements along I-81 and our regional approach to doing so. Previously, of course, as anyone that has driven I-81 knows, a lot of the work has been performed in proximity to the city of Roanoke as well as some of the other surrounding areas. This is one section that has not yet benefited from those improvements, so we are joining Roanoke County, the city of Salem, and others in adopting a resolution to indicate our regional support for this improvement.
Oh, that's good, thank you. It's always good to have regional cooperation in these items.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yes.
All right, any discussion? Any more about council? All right, Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Bestfitch? Aye. Mr. Cobb?
Aye.
Ms. Moon Reynolds?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones?
Aye.
Vice Mayor White Boyd?
Aye.
Mayor Lee.
Aye, and the resolution passes. All right, item E is the appropriation of Virginia Department of Social Services local staff and operations funding, no local match. There's a budget ordinance.
Move the budget ordinance.
Madam Clerk, can you read the title paragraph, please?
An ordinance to appropriate funding from the Commonwealth to the Department of Social Services amending and reordaining certain sections of the 2022-2023 general fund appropriations, and dispensing with the second reading by title of this ordinance.
Thank you. Is there any discussion among council? All right, hearing none, Madam Clerk, we're ready to vote.
Mr. Bestfitch? Aye. Mr. Cobb? Aye. Ms. Moon Reynolds?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones?
Aye.
Vice Mayor White Boyd?
Aye.
And Mayor Lee.
Aye, and the budget ordinance passes. All right, item F is the acceptance of the strategic plan for Department of Economic Development. There's a resolution.
Move the resolution. Second.
Madam Clerk, please read the title paragraph.
A resolution approving the Economic Development Strategic Plan.
All right, any discussion among council?
Mr. Mayor, again, if I may, just for clarification for anyone that is joining us. So this item also was presented at your last meeting as well and has similarly been out, posted on the website as well as distributed through the libraries. There were, again, some minor revisions to this. All of those revisions were either grammatical or some type of graphic kind of revision, nothing of substance. And then finally, want to thank Mark Nelson and his staff. Also, the Economic Development Authority, which helped underwrite the cost of this plan, and of course, the consultants, Ernst Young, that assisted in this effort, and certainly happy to answer any questions anyone might have. So, thank you.
Thank you. Mark, again, that was a good report. We enjoyed that, and I mean, it's very comprehensive, and it gave us some encouraging things to think about. So thank you and your staff for the work on that. All right, any more discussion with council? If not, we'll vote. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Bestfitch?
Aye.
Mr. Cobb?
Aye.
Ms. Moon Reynolds?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones?
Aye.
Vice Mayor White Boyd?
Aye.
Mayor Lee.
Aye, and the resolution passes. Item G is the acceptance of Virginia Brownfields Restoration and Economic Redevelopment Assistance Fund grant, titled VBAF grant, from the Virginia Economic Development Partnership and the Department of Environmental Quality. There's a resolution.
Move the resolution. Second.
All right, Madam Clerk, please read the title paragraph.
A resolution accepting the Virginia Brownfields Restoration and Economic Development Assistance Fund grant made to the city by the Virginia Economic Development Partnership and Department of Environmental Quality, and authorizing execution of any required documentation on behalf of the city.
All right. Is there any discussion by members of council? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Bestfitch?
Aye.
Mr. Cobb?
Aye.
Ms. Moon Reynolds?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones?
Aye.
Vice Mayor White Boyd?
Aye.
Mayor Lee.
Aye, and the resolution passes. We have a budget ordinance.
Move the budget ordinance. Second.
All right, Madam Clerk, could you please read the title paragraph?
An ordinance appropriating funding from the Department of Environmental Quality and the Virginia Economic Development Partnership for environmental site assessments and related planning and development, amending and reordaining certain sections of the 2022-2023 grant fund appropriations, and dispensing with the second reading by title of this ordinance.
All right, any discussion from members of council? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Bestfitch?
Aye.
Mr. Cobb?
Aye.
Ms. Moon Reynolds?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones?
Aye.
Vice Mayor White Boyd?
Aye.
Mayor Lee.
Aye, and the budget ordinance passes. Thank you. All right, item G, H, is approval of a resolution, to create a Virginia 250 committee in celebration of the Commonwealth of Virginia's 250th anniversary. I want to recognize our attorney, then I'll call on you, Mr. Bestfitch.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, you have an amended walked-on version that further is a little bit more specific as to the authority authorizing the city manager to appoint a committee to aid in the planning for this period and to pursue matching grant funding from the Commonwealth of Virginia. So we specified that. That way it better adheres to what you have in your council reports, and ask the council to consider this amended version which has been walked on.
Okay,
I move the amended version.
okay. Thank you.
And I'll second.
All right. Madam Clerk, do we need to read the entire paragraph on that amended version?
A resolution supporting the activities for the Virginia American Revolution 250 Commission commemorating the 250th anniversary of the American Revolution, the Revolutionary War, and the independence of the United States in Virginia, and authorizing the city manager or his designee to appoint committee members and pursue matching grant funding from the Commonwealth of Virginia.
All right. I'm gonna call on Mr. Bestfitch for discussion.
Well, Mr. Mayor, the city manager informed me that the wording of the recommendation in the agenda report and the wording of the resolution were recommended from somebody over there in the holy city of Richmond. If you read the recommended action, it says that the city manager will appoint committee members and pursue matching grant funding available from the Commonwealth of Virginia. But the resolution, as initially written, just said that the city of Roanoke will form a committee to aid in the planning. It doesn't say anything about grants, doesn't say anything about who will appoint the committee or anything else. So I just wanted to point out that thanks to Mr. Cow and Mr. Spencer, we're probably the first locality in Virginia that's actually going to get this correct on the first go-round, which is not unusual for the city of Roanoke, I might add.
And Mr. Mayor, we need to recognize who makes it appropriate. Eagle Eye Bill Bestfitch is the one who sent this out this weekend for us to make these corrections.
Thank you, Mr. Bestfitch.
We're gonna miss that eagle eye, Bill.
I told somebody the other, I'm available on a consulting basis if you can afford my hourly rate.
Okay.
Yeah, you and I were talking.
And Mayor, if I can clarify sort of what this is and what it's about. So as
Yes,
was
sir.
explained in 2020, the General Assembly actually established the commission. So at the state level, there's a commission. They are encouraging the formation of committees, these VA 250 committees across the Commonwealth. And the intended representation of these committees should be representatives from tourism, education, economic development, museums, historical sites, and local historical and cultural groups, as well as higher education institutions. So that's sort of the framework that they have established. And the idea is that they will come together, partner with the Commonwealth. The Commonwealth is offering grants, I believe, up to $10,000 to assist in this effort. And ultimately develop a local version of a marketing or promotion program or campaign for this VA 250, which is occurring across the entirety of the Commonwealth. So that's the reason for the formation and how it will ultimately function. Obviously, as we assemble representatives for this committee, I will of course forward those to you all so I can achieve that consensus as we move forward in formation of the committees. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Madam Clerk, are we ready for the discussion? Any further discussion? All right, we ready to call the roll?
Okay, Mr. Bestfitch? Aye. Mr. Cobb?
Aye.
Ms. Moon Reynolds?
Aye.
Ms. Price? Aye. Ms. Sanchez Jones? Aye. Vice Mayor White Boyd?
Aye.
Mayor Lee?
Aye, and the resolution passes. Thank you. All right, comments of the city manager, and I'm pleased to recognize our city manager, Bob Cow.
Thank you, Mayor. I have only three items that I think will be relatively quick here. One of those, of course, is, I guess, since in order of the agenda, I get to be the first one to wish everyone happy holidays, so I will certainly do that, and I know we will do so at the end of the meeting as well. Certainly want to do that. And I also have the advantage of being in the order that I am as well to once again thank Councilmember Bestfitch and Councilmember Price for their service to the council, to the community, and most importantly, their help for service while on the council, and of course, Ms. Price's case twice, and want to thank both of you for the assistance you have provided, certainly myself, in carrying out the duties that I have within the organization and within the community. So thank you both for that. And I know we'll be recognizing both a bit later in the program as well. And then finally, the third item I have is actually one that actually was brought to us by Councilmember Sanchez Jones. I had included it in a recent update and just want to sort of highlight this. And then if there is no objection, I have some direction that we'll take further as we go forward. At the recent National League of Cities conference, upon the return, Councilmember Sanchez Jones highlighted a program that the National League of Cities offers, which is a discount prescription program, and this is in partnership with CVS. A number of communities across the country are members and participate in this effort as well. And there is no cost to the city. There are no cost to citizens to join with it. What it offers is up to 80% off of generic and 40% off of brand medications nationwide, with 65,000 different participating pharmacies. Even though it's a program really run and sponsored by CVS, it is not limited to CVS pharmacies. And there'll be more information if we proceed with this as well. It's a fairly straightforward program in that the city simply applies, if you will, with the National League of Cities. Once accepted into the program, then there are actual cards, discount cards, that are generated that are unique for our residents here in the city of Roanoke, that would be used in the pharmacies where it's applicable. And so I bring this to you all at the request of the council member, and as indicated in the update. So far, residents, since the program was put in place across the country, have saved over $50 million on retail prescriptions through this program. And so unless there is objection, it would be my intent that we would submit what is necessary in order to become part of this program, enroll, and present this opportunity for our residents.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Sanchez Jones.
Thank you.
All right.
And that concludes my my updates, so thank you.
All right. Are there any other comments or questions? All right. We're down now to item 8, which is the reports of committees. The report of the Roanoke City School Board requesting appropriation of funds for various educational programs. A report of the city manager recommending that council concur in the request. Donna Caldwell, Director of Accounting, is the spokesperson, and there is a budget ordinance.
Move the budget ordinance. Second.
Madam Clerk, would you please read the title paragraph?
An ordinance to appropriate funding from the Commonwealth federal and private grant for various educational programs, amending and reordaining certain sections of the 2022-2023 school grant fund appropriations, and dispensing with the second reading by title of this ordinance.
All right. Any discussion, members of council? All right, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Bestfitch? Aye. Mr. Cobb? Aye. Ms. Moon Reynolds?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones?
Aye.
Vice Mayor White Boyd?
Aye.
And Mayor Lee.
Aye. And the budget ordinance passes. Thank you. Item number 2 is report of certain authorities, boards, committees, and commissions in which city council serves as either liaisons or appointees. And at this time, I will receive any comments by council. All right, hearing none, we're going to move right on then. Item number 9, which is unfinished business. Item number 1 is a continuation of the matter which, with regards to the proposal of the city of Roanoke to sell approximately 1.1 acres of land and improvements, being the former Fishburne Park Caretaker's Cottage. The matter was tabled at the November 21st, 2022 council meeting. I need to ask for a motion to remove from the table.
Second.
All right, Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Mr. Bestfitch? Aye. Mr. Cobb? Aye. Ms. Moon Reynolds?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones?
Aye.
Vice Mayor White Boyd.
Aye.
Mayor Lee.
Aye. It's been removed from the table, and there is an ordinance. All right, I'll ask the clerk to read the title paragraph, please.
An ordinance authorizing the city manager or his designee to execute the necessary documents providing for the sale and conveyance of 2424 Bramilton Avenue, Southwest Roanoke, Virginia, bearing official tax map number 1470301 to Carrie and Justin Van Blaricum upon certain terms and conditions, and dispensing with the second reading of this ordinance by title.
All right. Any discussion by members of council?
Mr. Mayor, if I might, just a reminder, this is a sale of property which is currently being used for public purposes. Therefore, under the Virginia Code, requires a supermajority to approve the sale. In other words, to even simplify further, for a 7-member council to approve the sale, it will require 6 affirmative votes.
All right. Okay. Anybody have any comments or discussion on this item? Does that mean you raise your hand or?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. Not hearing any comments, I'll ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Mr. Bestfitch?
Aye.
Mr. Cobb?
Aye.
Ms. Moon Reynolds?
No.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones?
Aye.
Vice Mayor White Boyd?
Aye.
And Mayor Lee.
Aye, and the ordinance passes. Thank you. All right. Item number 2 is a continuation of the matter with regards to the proposal of the city of Roanoke to lease the Norwich Recreation Center to Box Fit. The matter was tabled at the November 21st, 2022 council meeting. I need a motion to remove it from the table.
So moved. Second.
All right, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Bestfitch? Mr. Bestfitch?
Aye.
I'm sorry. Mr. Cobb?
Aye.
Ms. Moon Reynolds?
Aye.
Ms. Price? Ms. Sanchez Jones?
Aye.
Vice Mayor White Boyd?
Aye.
Mayor Lee.
Aye. And it has been removed, and there's an ordinance.
Move the ordinance.
Second.
Madam Clerk, please read the title paragraph.
An ordinance authorizing the city manager or his designee to execute a lease agreement with BoxFit, a Virginia corporation, for the lease of a portion of city-owned property located at 2020 Roanoke Avenue, Southwest Roanoke, Virginia, designated as official tax map number 1322110, known as Norwich Recreation Center, being approximately 6,073 square feet, for a term of up to 3 years commencing December 1st, 2022, and dispensing with the second reading of this ordinance by title.
All right. Any discussion by members of council? Ms. Price?
Thank you. I just have a quick question, I guess, for Mr. Cowell. In looking over the materials you've provided, and I'm just wondering what the status is, according to the agreement we're looking at now, it says that the first installment would have been due December 1st. So does that mean that if this should go forward, the timeframe would be adjusted?
Yeah, I think we do need to make an adjustment
okay.
to a month forward associated with that.
I
So,
just wanted to
yes,
make sure
yes.
that we said that out loud. Thank
Yeah,
you.
you're correct, because obviously the documentation you have is from back in November, so we do need to make that.
I wanted to make sure that that was clear. Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I do have a question.
Yes. Madam Moon Reynolds?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I understand that there were some conversations with, I believe, with Mr. Woodbury in terms of
this commercial lease agreement. I'm not sure what came, well, I don't know what the results were. It was not told to me what the outcome is, so I don't know if the mayor or Mr. Cobb would like to share, or if you would like to share what the understanding is at this point.
Sure, I'll start and then
Okay.
certainly open up to
I appreciate
the
that.
mayor
Thank you.
or to Councilmember Cobb. So we did have a meeting with Mr. Woodbury and his wife to talk through, again, the lease arrangement, make sure everyone understood the terms of it and the provisions. There was also actually a fair amount of discussion of other opportunities for Mr. Woodbury and his organization to secure additional funds, some of the discussion about the role of his board and how they may be used to do private fundraising and so on. And then there were just some very specific technical discussions, like when could they take possession if the lease was approved, literally when might keys be turned over, those kinds of things. So those were the discussions I think we had, and certainly would open, and I think, and I don't want to speak for Mr. Woodbury, I think one of his sort of requests was, obviously, the sooner he can get in this building, the sooner that he felt that he would have success in fundraising and securing sponsors, because he would have a physical space in which he could conduct his activities. So, but certainly would ask the mayor or Councilmember Cobb if there were any other items that they wish to add to the discussions.
Well, I would just agree with that summary, and we conveyed to both Tori and Ashley a desire to continue to work with them to seek additional opportunities for funding, including increasing community-based support for the programs that they're doing. But the critical step right now, it seems to me and to them, is to have a secure place where they can operate their program.
And I concur with everything that's been said, and I know Mr. Woodbury and his wife are here in the audience with regards to that, and I think this program is one that can benefit the community. I think it's important, and we'll be working with him to make sure that we can keep this program going. I think it's so important for our young people, and boxing in itself has so many things as it deals with discipline, and our young people need that. I commend him and his wife for the work that they put in this to keep it going, and want to encourage them that we're going to be working with you, and I think I can speak for many on the consensus on this council that we want to see you succeed and continue the work. So this is a part of, as we talked about, of the bureaucracy part that we have to do when we talked about the boards and all those things, and dotting I's and crossing T's, but we can work through that, and I appreciate you all's effort. So thank you for that. All right, any other thoughts, questions? All right, thank you. All right, it looks like, Madam Clerk, we're ready to vote.
All right, Mr. Bestfitch?
Aye.
Mr. Cobb?
Aye.
Ms. Moon Reynolds?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones? Vice Mayor White Boyd?
Aye.
And Mayor Lee.
Aye, and the ordinance passes. All right. Thank you all, Mr. and Ms. Wilbur. All right, item number 10 is introduction and considerations of ordinance and resolutions. We
Mr.
have
Mayor,
none.
We actually do, I think, have one item that should be at your place. That was a walk-on resolution.
Oh, yeah, okay,
Oh, yeah.
okay.
Very important one. Yes. Most important one of the day.
Okay, well, we do have a introduction of a ordinance and resolution. I'll ask our clerk to read the title paragraph.
A resolution closing certain city offices Friday, December 23rd, 2022, and providing for additional holiday leave for all city employees.
All right,
And Mayor, for the record, I'll make that motion. And I would love to second.
okay. All right, any further discussion from members of council?
I Could we just elaborate on all that this includes? Especially for personnel that are essential personnel?
Sure. So as is the case, anytime we close for a holiday, obviously not all of our folks actually can take that day off because we have to provide services, obviously, 24/7. So certainly our public safety personnel will continue to work as is assigned by the schedule. So those are folks that are in police, fire, EMS, and our E911. What will generally happen and what will happen in this case is they'll earn additional holiday leave for that and be able to take that at another time as well. Because of the short notice associated with this one, we're unable to actually make adjustments in our solid waste schedule. So solid waste activities will still occur, collection activities will occur on Friday. Fortunately, on Friday, we're only doing work in the CBD, so therefore it is actually a smaller crew. That crew will receive the same as fire EMS. They'll earn additional holiday time that they'll be able to take at some other point. But all other municipal facilities will be closed, so libraries will be closed, obviously the municipal building will be closed and so on. And we'll be issuing a media statement later today as well as clarification of what is closed, reminding folks, again, it doesn't really affect anyone on sanitation other than downtown, but reminding folks that, you know, solid waste will continue to be collected as has been scheduled. So.
All right.
And Mayor, I do have a comment, if I could.
All right.
I do want to thank the manager and my colleagues on council who supported having this done for the city employees. I think it was a goodwill gesture, even though it was on a short notice, that we were able to make that happen. So thank you, Mr. Kyle, appreciate that. And my colleagues on council who supported the goodwill gesture. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other comments by members of council on things that have happened, miscellaneous matters? Oh, we haven't voted on the order?
Yes, sir.
All right, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Bestfitch?
Aye.
Mr. Cobb?
Aye.
Ms. Moon Reynolds?
Aye.
Ms. Price?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones?
Aye.
Vice Mayor White Boyd?
Aye.
And Mayor Lee.
Aye. And the ordinance passes. I don't see too many smiles on city employees' faces. I mean, you would thought this is just business as usual. I'm watching the looks on there. I don't see it. But anyway, happy holidays to everybody.
I would just, one thing I would add though, Mayor, and I'm glad that we were able to do that, I would think that next year we would do it a little bit earlier so that it does not cause the stress on this administration in order to make those changes in the logistics. So it's a great idea, but I think most of the localities that had done it knew that they were going to do it, and for us not to wait until the last minute, because it does put a crunch on the facilities, solid waste, all of them. So I'm excited and happy to do it. I just think that next year we'll think ahead of time.
All right, thank you. Any further comments?
On your to-do list.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, we're on item 11. Are we on agenda item 11?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, if I may, in my final opportunity to speak under item 11 of the agenda, I hope you will indulge me in offering my thanks and a few parting suggestions. I must begin by saying thank you to my wonderful wife, Sherry, always my strongest supporter, often my most valuable advisor. More than once, she's kept me from sticking my foot in my mouth and doing something both foolish and ineffective. Joe, thank you for all you've done and continue to do in leading the efforts to stop gun violence in our city. You recognize that no one action will solve this problem, so you're willing to support the many little actions needed to make a difference. Someone once said that the world is run by the people who show up, and you show up in so many places and projects in our community, helping to make Roanoke an even better city. Trish, thank you for accepting me as a partner and working to ensure equity and to empower all our residents. Again, these are not issues that we can resolve with one major initiative. So we have to keep plugging away, piece by piece. I really commend your leadership in raising the funds for the statue of Henrietta Lacks. What a wonderful unveiling that was this morning. You're creating a lasting legacy for both her and for yourself. And I look forward to seeing the documentary on Black history, Hidden in Plain Sight, that you're also helping to create. And let me just also thank you for suggesting that we name the western side of the plaza when we were in the process of renaming Lacks Plaza, and naming the eastern end Freedom Plaza, in recognition of the war memorial already there and the freedom that has been secured for us at sometimes even the loss of life. Stephanie has stepped out, but I wanted to thank her for the concern that she's shown my family many times as we deal with the struggles of our aging mom. Anita, thank you for all you've done and continue to do for the youth of our city. Work you continued when you left this council 2 years ago, and work I know you will continue for years to come, investing in our most precious resource. Almost every time I have been with you anywhere in the city, people have come up to you to thank you for what you did for them as students during your many years of service with our schools. Vivian, thank you for helping us make better connections with our Spanish-speaking residents and those who are recent refugees and immigrants in our city. It's easy to say that we're a welcoming community. You help put action behind those words. Congratulations on your reelection to this council. I know you will continue to demonstrate your pride in coming to this country as an immigrant yourself and becoming an American citizen. Sherman, thank you for organizing sports activities that help our youth stay out of trouble and develop positive relationships with our police officers. While playing basketball is fun, learning life skills is essential. You will never know how many lives you have guided in a more positive direction. You and I have strong opinions that sometimes lead to heated disagreements, but we always manage to put aside any differences and find ways to work together. Drew Harmon isn't here, but I want to take this opportunity to thank him for his integrity and honesty in monitoring our finances and our policies. I've always been able to sleep easier knowing that Drew had his eyes on things. Tim, thank you for keeping us so well informed on legal issues facing our city, for resolving so many of those issues effectively, and for keeping us on the straight and narrow. Susie, thank you for everything that you and your wonderful staff have done to help me in more ways than we have time to enumerate today. You have transformed your office to improve operations for years to come. Bob, thank you for always looking for ways to share more of our work with the public, and for getting so many more of them involved in helping us make important decisions, especially responding to the pandemic and using the CARES Act and ARPA funds. To the people of the city of Roanoke, thank you for the honor of allowing me to work for you and try to make the Star City shine brighter and brighter. Most of the things we accomplish are the results of collaboration, not individual achievements. When I ran for re-election to my final term in 2018, I had no idea what the most challenging issues would be over the next 4 years. For example, the pandemic was not on anyone's radar screen at that time. Neither you nor I know what the most challenging issues will be for you in the next 2 to 4 years. So I just want to share a few of the things, the most important things I've learned about responding to those unexpected challenges in 16 and a half years on City Council. I think you know them as well, but they might be worthy of reminders. You have smart, capable people in the administration and throughout the city's workforce. Listen to them. Learn from them. You don't always have to agree with them. In fact, you set the policy and the performance expectations. So do it collaboratively and then hold people accountable for the results. Make sure your council colleagues know where you stand. Sometimes you may have to stand alone. Usually it's better to build support and consensus, even if you don't get your first choice, as long as it's a good choice you can live with. No matter what you do, you will never please everyone. Don't take disagreement or criticism personally. People may be upset with the policy or the decision, not with you. They may not even know you, and they'd be just as upset with whomever might be on city council at the time. So never hold a grudge. It will always hurt you more than anyone else. I close with aloha, commonly mistranslated to mean hello, goodbye, or I love you. While it's often used as a greeting, that's not what it means. Like many Hawaiian words, it's a combination of ancient words that may be translated in different ways. Ha is the word for air or breath, and the essential meaning of aloha is the breath that is shared between you and me. It's a way of life, a way of affirming that we are all connected, a way of valuing mutual respect and caring for each other and our community, including the land, water, and air. Aloha.
All right.
Sorry I got a little emotional, Mayor, but
It was all right.
Yeah.
put a lot of feeling into that.
All right. Yeah. Well, we're gonna do this, and Bill, we got some comments, and maybe we'll save them for our audience tonight to talk to you. Thank you so much for those.
I understand, I just didn't want to be part of that.
It's like, well, our mascara's got to last for the rest of the day, so we might want to do it later.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Bestfitch, though, for those kind words.
All right, any other comments under this area? Comments from members of council? All right, vacancies on certain authorities, boards, and commissions and committees appointed by council will have none. And if there's not any more business, Madam Clerk, we're gonna go ahead and have council, we're gonna have council in recess until a 7 o'clock meeting. We're going into some closed meetings, and we'll reconvene here at 7 o'clock for our evening session. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mayor.